Hello everyone, this is Easy Tutor. In this video tutorial we are going to see Python functions in detail, different ways of passing parameters to functions. First I'll explain you guys what is function. Function is a reusable code block in a script or a program. So when there is a need to use a certain lines of code repeatedly, we'll place that under a function or definition. In different languages people call it as different terms. We'll be calling that with a name inside the program or inside the module. So that is called function. So let's see how we define function in Python. In Python we have a keyword def definition and the function name, and within parenthesis we'll be passing the parameters for that particular function. There are different ways of passing parameters. I'll explain you one by one. In this example 1.py, you can see there is no parameters, and I have just simply called this function by the function name and open and close parenthesis. So this will simply call these lines of code in this script without any parameters and execute. So let's see how this runs. This is a simple function I have printed here. So there is nothing complicated. And next one we'll see an example to pass the parameter. You can open example2.py in the project panel. This function has one parameter which is msg message, and I'll be printing that message in the print statement. Here I'm using f-string because I'm using the latest Python version. And in the main block I am calling this function with two lines. One is simply passing the message. I'm passing a string to that argument without mentioning the argument name. This is the first one example. Second one, I can specify the argument name and equal to the value pair, whatever the value I need to pass. So in these two ways we can pass values to the function argument. There is a positional argument, so you can either send directly the value or you can send the key and equal to value. Let me run this script. You can guess the output will be two lines. The first one will be test message, which I passed without specifying the argument name. The second one is with specifying argument name. So this is very straightforward. Let's go to the third example. Here I have given two functions. One is the previous example's function, and I have added equals none. This makes this function to accept this first argument msg as optional argument. So I can call this simple function without any parameter also, and by specifying msg argument also. So placing this none object in the argument will make that argument as optional in that function. If you see the second function, multi-key parameter function, here I have given msg and the second one sender equal to none. So the first msg is a mandatory argument, the second one is non-mandatory argument. You can see the function calls here. Simple function test message, this will run. Simple function without any argument, so without this msg argument this function will be called, and we will be printing no message since there is no msg. And the third one I am calling test underscore message. You can see test underscore message will be passed to msg first argument. Second argument I am not passing anything, so it will be simply printing this test message. If I call without any argument, it will throw an error for us. Let's see what's that. All these three got printed. The last one throwed an error, missing one required positional argument, because we have, since multi-key parameter accepts one mandatory argument msg, and we are not passing that while calling the function. That's what caused that error. So you can understand the difference between mandatory and the optional parameter here in this example. And let's go to example number 4. So this one by one script I am explaining the different ways of passing arguments and the rules to keep in mind while creating functions. Here you can see the difference. I have given the key value pair at the first and the positional parameter second. So there is a rule in Python function creation, and the positional arguments always should come first, then only the key value parameter should go. When you run this Python script, while running itself, we will get an error. You can see non-default argument follows default argument. So this should not be the case. So here I have a mandate optional argument, which should not be the case. It should come always after the mandatory argument. If you run this, this will work. So that is how the order should be maintained. And I can show you the example 5. Here you can see, if you don't know how many number of arguments this function will receive and how many number of keyword arguments this function will receive, you will have these two different options. If you need to receive multiple arguments, you can specify star args. So this will receive any number of positional arguments. So these positional arguments, you can access the past values using index. Index will start from 0 as usual. So you can access like this. When there is a case of key value passing of argument, you can specify double star, which will unpack the arguments which you passed to keyword arguments. This will be a dictionary of the arguments which you passed. In this case, you need to access the argument based on the key which you passed while calling the function. So I can show you the output here. You can see the first one, I am simply passing one string test message. This will come here, args. Args will store that argument to the first index, args 0. The second one, simple function, the same thing. So this will receive using named parameters, and when you specify this, so this is not required. And the second example, simple function underscore keyword. Here you need to pass named key value pair message equal to test. This value will be stored in keyword args variable. Then you can access using the key name message here. So like that you can access. And one more point to note here is args and kwargs. There is no rule like this variable name should be like this. You can change this variable name. That is just a variable name. That's it. Info and info. That shouldn't be the issue. So it will run. So that is just a naming convention to notify this is a arguments list, this is a keyword argument list. I will show you example number 6. Here there is a catch, and I have already told you guys that order should be always positional argument, then the keyword arguments. If you see arg1 and star args, so first it will look for positional arguments, then it will collect all the remaining positional arguments to args, then arg2, this should be called with arg2 and then value. It should be called like a key value pair. You can't simply pass a text to this variable or simply any value to this variable, because this is next to star args, and the last should be our remaining key value argument for this function. You can see this function call. First one I am passing test a string to arg1. This will go fine. Second sample, this will go to args. Third one I am attempting to pass arg2 to this arg2 variable, and the remaining will be key value pair. So you can guess when you run this script, you will be getting an error because I am passing arg2 string to this arg2 argument. This should not be called like this. You need to specify the argument name because this is after star args. Now this will go fine. So you can see the first two argument values has been passed to arg and args. You can see the args will be stored as tuple, hence you will be accessing through index. The arg2 will be stored as arg2 variable directly, since that will be assumed like a key for this function, and the remaining all the key value pairs will be stored into kwargs. As I have already said, you can rename this variable as well, that shouldn't be the issue. So this is how the function argument order and the different ways of passing default, and so this is how the function behaves in Python. Hope you guys have learned something new from this video. Thank you so much. I'll meet you guys in next video.